They say there's a house that only appears once a year, on Halloween night. No one knows who built it or where it goes when the sun rises, but those who enter are never seen again. The night looks normal. Kids in costumes, laughing and running with bags full of candy. But then, a shape begins to materialize at the end of a cul-de-sac. An old Victorian mansion, its windows like black, hollow eyes, a crooked gate beckoning from the fog. 4 teenagers, Liam, Sophie, Ethan, and Maya, ride their bikes under the eerie orange glow of the streetlights, munching on candy. "You guys know the legend, right?" Sophie asks, her voice a little too loud in the quiet street. "The Halloween house?" Ethan scoffs, trying to look brave. Yeah, the house that shows up once a year. Ghosts, screams, missing people, blah blah." "It's not a joke," Maya says quietly, her eyes wide. "My cousin said she saw it last Halloween, and someone was standing at the window." Liam, ever the leader, grins. "Then, let's see it for ourselves." They reach the end of the road. The fog, once a light mist, thickens into a heavy shroud. The mansion flickers into view like a glitch in reality. "It wasn't there before," Sophie whispers, her voice trembling. A sudden flash of lightning illuminates the scene, and the house is now fully there, towering, decayed, and seeming to breathe with strange, unsettling noises. They can't turn back now. The dare has been accepted. They push the rusty gate open. It lets out a long, screeching groan that sounds almost like a scream, echoing into the unnatural silence of the night. Inside, the air is instantly icy, a stark contrast to the mild autumn evening. Cobwebs as thick as curtains hang from every surface, and a dust-covered grandfather clock stands in the corner, its hands ticking backward. On the wall, a portrait of a family watches them, but their faces have been violently scratched out. "This is crazy." Ethan breathes, his earlier confidence gone. "It's like the air's alive." Maya reaches out a trembling hand to touch the wallpaper. "It's warm," she gasps, pulling her hand back. "Feel it, like skin." Suddenly, with a deafening slam, the heavy front door swings shut behind them. The lights flicker, plunging them into near darkness. They're trapped. "The door's locked," Sophie yells, rattling the knob frantically. "It won't open." That's when they see it. The eyes in the portrait move, following them. A chilling whisper slithers through the hall, a voice that sounds both young and ancient. "Why did you come back?" "Who's there?" Liam shouts, his voice cracking. At the top of the grand, decaying staircase, a small girl in a torn white dress appears. She holds a pumpkin lantern, its light casting long, dancing shadows. Her voice is soft, filled with a sorrow that makes their skin crawl. "You shouldn't be here." They don't like visitors. Hesitantly, they follow the ghostly girl down a long, winding corridor. Shadows crawl and twist across the walls, seeming to have a life of their own. The faint, distorted sound of children's laughter echoes from every room they pass, but the rooms are all empty. "Who are they?" Ethan asks, his voice barely a whisper. "The ones who never left," the girl replies, her voice fading as she vanishes into thin air. The moment she disappears, the house comes alive. Doors slam shut all around them, trapping them in a maze. The very architecture begins to shift. Staircases twist into impossible shapes. Hallways stretch into infinity. And the few remaining lights die out, one by one. "We have to get out." "Please," Maya cries, tears streaming down her face. They run blindly through the darkness and burst into a dining room. In an instant, candles on a long, dust-covered table ignite themselves. The table is set for 4 guests. On each plate is a pile of candy, but something is moving underneath. Sophie lets out a terrified gasp. "It's us. Look." The candy shifts aside to reveal 4 small, crudely made dolls. Each one is a horrifying replica of one of them, pinned with old, rusty needles. A voice, deep and hollow, echoes from the shadows. Dinner is served. A tall, slender figure emerges from the corner of the room. It has no face, just a smooth, blank surface where its features should be. It wears a black top hat and holds a lantern made of human bones. "What are you?" Liam stammers, shaking uncontrollably as he stands between the figure and his friends. The faceless man seems to chuckle, a dry, rattling sound. "You came looking for the house. Now the house is looking for you." He gestures with a long, spider-like hand, and the very walls begin to pulse, as if they're breathing. The scratched-out portraits on the walls begin to bleed thick, black liquid. The air turns heavy and red. "We didn't mean to," Maya begins, but the figure cuts her off. "Every year, new souls feed the foundation. The house hungers, and tonight, you knocked on its door." Panic takes over. They turn and run as the house itself seems to try to grab them. Just as a dead end looms, the little ghost girl appears again, her spectral form flickering, tears running down her cheeks. There's still a way out, but only one can leave. "What do you mean, one?" Sophie asks, her heart pounding in her chest. The house is collapsing around them. Doors melt into walls, the floor groans and splinters. Liam grabs Sophie's hand. "Go! Run! I'm not leaving you!" she screams back, trying to pull him with her. The ghost girl points to an ornate, full-length mirror at the end of the hall. It's glowing with a brilliant, blinding white light. "Through the mirror! Now!" Sophie hesitates for a split second, then jumps through. She disappears into the light, leaving her friends behind. Their screams echo for a moment, then are abruptly silenced as the house swallows them in darkness. Sophie wakes up with a jolt, lying on the cold pavement of the street. The mansion is gone. In its place is an empty, overgrown lot, covered in a thick, rolling fog. She's alone. "Liam," she whispers into the night. "Ethan. Maya." There's no answer but the rustling of leaves in the wind. She walks home in a daze, the silence more terrifying than the screams had been. The next morning, the police find no trace of the others. They find no trace of the house. Some say Sophie survived because she was pure of heart. Others say the house simply wasn't hungry anymore after its feast. But if you find yourself walking down Maple Street this Halloween night, and the fog is thick enough, you might just see the house again, waiting for you. A child's faint laughter echoes on the wind as the ghostly outline of the mansion shimmers in the mist, ready for its next visitors. In the small town of Willow Creek, Halloween was more than just costumes and candy. It was the night the fields whispered. No one knew where the legend began, only that every October 31st, the pumpkins in Miller's Field seemed to glow, even when no candle was inside. It was the evening before Halloween, and three kids, Jack, Mia, and Luke, were riding their bikes under flickering streetlights, heading towards a dare that would change everything. "Come on, Mia. Don't tell me you're scared of a bunch of pumpkins," Jack said, his voice dripping with 12-year-old bravado. "I'm not scared," Mia insisted. "I just heard weird things. My cousin said they talk at midnight." Luke, the joker of the group, chimed in. "Yeah, and maybe they'll invite us for pumpkin pie." They all laughed, but a distant roll of thunder seemed to mock their confidence. They had all heard the stories, that the old Miller farm was cursed, that its last owner, a farmer obsessed with his pumpkins, had disappeared on Halloween night. All that was left was a single, half-carved jack-o'-lantern on his porch, its light still flickering the next morning, as if fueled by something other than a candle. As night fell, the three children snuck through the tall, wet grass surrounding the infamous field, their flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. The air was cold and heavy. Mia whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "Look at them. There's hundreds." And there were, rows upon rows of pumpkins, their round shapes like silent orange heads in the moonlight. As they watched, the pumpkins seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. One of them let out a soft, breath-like sigh. "Probably just the wind," Jack said, though he didn't sound convinced. But then, as his light swept across one nearby, its carved mouth seemed to twitch. "Okay," Luke said, checking his watch. Midnight's in 10 minutes. If they start talking, we record it, post it online, and we're legends. And if they don't, Mia asked. Then we go home with candy and bragging rights, Jack replied, trying to sound cool. They found a spot near a lopsided scarecrow in the middle of the field and sat down, their flashlight beams trembling in their hands, painting nervous circles on the dark earth. The town's clock tower struck 12. Each chime seemed to hang in the air, heavy and final. And then, everything went silent. The air froze. Even the crickets stopped their nightly song. Then it began. A soft murmur, like dry leaves whispering secrets, echoed from all around them. A voice, thin and raspy, drifted from the pumpkins. "Leave this place." "Did you hear that?" Mia gasped, grabbing Jack's arm. "Someone's messing with us," Jack insisted, but his voice cracked. He shone his flashlight around, trying to find the source. The beam flickered, died for a second, then came back on, landing directly on a pumpkin whose carved eyes were slowly opening, glowing from within. A second voice, deeper and more menacing, echoed from another direction. "You took our light." "Nope, nope, nope, I'm out." Luke scrambled to his feet. He turned to run, but suddenly the pumpkin vine snaked out from the ground, twisting around his ankles and pulling him down with a yelp. All at once, the carved mouths of the pumpkins began to move in unison, their whispers growing louder, becoming a terrifying chant that filled the air. "Give it back, give it back, give it back." Mia, scrambling on the ground, felt something hard under her hand. She looked down and saw an old carving knife, its blade rusted, stuck in the dirt. "Wait," she said, her voice shaky as she pulled it free. "This is Mr. Miller's knife, the farmer who disappeared." The narrator's voice takes over, explaining the chilling history. Mr. Miller wasn't just a farmer. He was an artist who grew the brightest, most perfect pumpkins in the county. To protect his crop from spirits, he began carving faces into them. But one Halloween, driven by an obsession he couldn't control, he carved too many. He worked tirelessly under the moonlight, giving each pumpkin a face, and in doing so, he accidentally gave them something more: souls. In a frantic flashback, we see the farmer, his eyes hollow with exhaustion, muttering to himself as lightning flashes across the sky. Let them see. Let them speak. Back in the present, the pumpkin's glow intensified, bathing the entire field in a pulsating, hostile orange light. "They're waking up!" Jack yelled, shielding his eyes. "We have to stop it," Mia cried. Just then, the ground trembled. In the center of the field, a colossal pumpkin began to rise, its vines twisting together to form arms and legs. Its eyes blazed with an ancient fire. Its voice boomed across the field, shaking the very air they breathed. "Every year, one must stay. One must watch the field until dawn." "No way! I'm not staying here!" Luke screamed, struggling against the vines that held him fast. "If we run, they'll drag us back," Jack yelled, realizing they were trapped. But Mia was thinking fast. She looked at the knife in her hand, then at the giant pumpkin. "Wait! The knife! It's part of the curse!" She stood up, holding the knife high, its rusted blade catching the eerie orange light. "If you want your soul back, take it." The giant pumpkin's blazing eyes dimmed for a moment. The ground rumbled, and the terrible chanting stopped. The air grew still, and for one fragile moment, silence returned. Mia dropped the knife as if it were burning her hand. The pumpkin vines that had trapped Luke retreated, slithering back into the soil. The unholy glow faded, leaving the field in near darkness once more. Without a second thought, the three kids scrambled to their feet and ran. They didn't stop until the town's streetlights were once again in sight, their breath coming in ragged gasps. Did we break it?" Luke panted, looking back over his shoulder. "I think so," Mia said, her eyes fixed on the now dark and silent field. They thought they had escaped. They thought the nightmare was over. But the pumpkins were only sleeping, waiting for next Halloween. As the camera pans back over the field, one faint orange eye flickers open again, and a soft, eerie laugh echoes in the distance. 1 year later, it's Halloween night again. Kids are trick-or-treating, their happy shouts filling the air. The camera zooms in on a quiet porch where a single jack-o'-lantern sits, glowing with that same familiar, sinister orange light. A faint voice whispers from inside it. "You're still here." The candle flickers, and the screen cuts to black. Then, one last whisper. "See you next year." Thanks for watching our spooky story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next animated horror story. Stay safe out there.